let's take a look at this map. There might be some names and heads that I've left off this map, okay? Let me give you a quick, you know, digest of this situation. We've got Dan Lanning chilling over here in Oregon, okay? Top left. Saban's already in Hawaii. That's why I've got him down there. He's already on vacation. He's gone. He's gone. Harbaugh's up there in Michigan. We've got Brian Kelly. How does he equate into this equation? Sit back, relax. Lane Kiffin, of course, that's always a name. Don't think it's anything. Dabo, and then of course Mike Norvell has been thrown into the mix. Real quick, Dave. Sorry to throw you off here. Let me pull up the odds because this will help with what we've been talking about. I think these odds have changed from this picture.
Those odds will change periodically through like minutes and minutes. It's crazy. Like I saw 3 different ones that have changed within the last like 10 minutes. So I mean,
but it's a good look. But the point is, it's a good idea. It's a good census of what's happening here. So Dan Lanning leads the way at plus 300. This was the guy that I said as soon as I heard the news. This was the guy that I said. Dabo Sweeney plus 400. Lane Kiffin plus 500. But Lane just signed an extension for 5 or 6 years. So that plays out. I mean, it plays a factor, right? They got to pay that thing out. So that would be wild. Kalen DeBoer plus 600. Deion Sanders plus 600. I think that's extremely high for Deion Sanders over Pat Schumer. Urban Meyer, this guy's not coming back. Give it up. Billy Napier, I think this has dropped to plus 1,600 now. Billy Napier at plus 1,400 is wild. And he was trending on, because how much hate he gets.
Well, think about it. Think about it, though. That buyout, they're not going to pay that buyout.
For Billy?
No, hell no.
If Lane Kiffin's up there and Dan Lanning's buyout's got to be insane too. It's got to be more than those two.
I think Dan Lanning was like 20 million.
I mean, that's about right around what Billy's is, isn't it? Because Billy's got some of it paid off already.
Yeah, his is like, I think like in the 50s or 60s.
This is not my list, by the way. This is an actual legitimate odds list from a betting website. So this is not my thing here, just so you guys are aware. Jimbo Fisher, obviously, I see somebody in the chat, Jack Way. And then Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell is an interesting one. And the reason, look, I like, my dark night here is Mike Norvell. Not because I'm trying to hate on Florida State. I want him to leave Florida State. I'd rather him stay at Florida State. I don't want him to go to Alabama. I just don't. He doesn't fit the Alabama vibe. It doesn't fit, in my opinion. But let's go back to the map. So for scenario one, kind of just cut and dry. The talk says Michigan that Harbaugh's flying away. Harbaugh's out. He's going to LA. He's going to the Chargers. He's going to the Chargers. Venables going to the Patriots. Bill's going to Atlanta. That's my call. That's NFL. That's bigger than that. Yeah. The talks for Brian Kelly to go into Michigan is through the roof. Now, some people thought he's from Michigan. He's from Massachusetts. He's not from Michigan. The reason why I think Brian Kelly fits at Michigan is it fits his vibe. Notre Dame, he always fit there. It makes sense. I think he did okay in the LSU, but again, a lot of talk for him going to Michigan. I think he would fit well. I think Michigan would just pick up right where they left off. No big deal. Like I said, that's kind of how Michigan flows. So now here we are. We have Alabama and LSU open. The coaching jobs open. The two, one of the top pinnacle schools in the SEC, wide open for business. Where do we go? Okay. Well, Dan Lanning's my number one pick. Dan's going to Bama. And the reason why I like
that opens up Oregon then.
You're getting ahead of the domino here. The reason why I like Dan and Bama so much is, and why I like Norvell. There's between two here, but we're on the look, guys. This is a roller coaster. Sit back and relax. It's going to be a good show. Dan fits perfectly for this, and the reason why I think Dan fits is every reason why they thought he was going to go to A&M. I never thought Dan would go to A&M. I thought it was stupid. There's no need for him to go to A&M. The reason why people thought A&M, money, and then of course the ego of playing against the big dogs. What is the SEC? Although he was headed to the Big Ten, everybody wants a piece of that SEC pie. It's just that tastes a little bit sweeter. The A&M job never made sense to me. I've never been intrigued by that job. Doesn't make any sense. The Bama job makes a ton of sense because you get the money that you need. It's got the status, and you're hungry. You've already shown that you recruit like an absolute dog, which you're going to need this in this new landscape of college football. And you have been a dog in the transfer portal when it's needed as well too. Everything is what is needed right now in the college football, and you've got money in Oregon. The only thing you've got fighting against you in Oregon is the fact that it's Oregon and its location. Yeah. This guy is the perfect fit for Alabama. And for the fact that we've seen silence and the fact that I think the A&M job kind of quickly shut down leads me to believe that Lanning is your guy. This is the guy that you hand things off to. Hell of a handoff. But I like him a lot. People saying Kirby leaving, you and I were talking about this before the show. Kirby leaving, the analogy that I said, Kirby leaving Georgia to go to Alabama would be like you moving out of your house to go across the street to the exact same house with zero furniture.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero. If you're Georgia, if you're Kirby, you're like, I'm about to eat. I'm about to eat.
But at the same time, if they move you out of your house and they move you into like a $9 million mansion right across the street, you're probably going to want to do that
Yeah,
instead.
they'll just build onto another one. So look, where this Oregon job comes into play, I have no clue at that point. I don't know what Oregon does. They may go rip somebody. Anything at this point kind of goes wild, but I'm more worried about how the SEC unfolds. So let's say Dan, let's back up a bit. Let's say Dan stays in Oregon, right? I don't see Lane leaving. Lane leaving at a time where he's just gone all in.
Yeah. And it's scheduled too.
It's wild to me.
Yeah.
Wild to me. I don't see it happening. I know.
Well,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say you put Dan Lanning over there. I just went to Cole Kubik's Twitter and he's updated like the odds. He's got Dan Lanning at 3-1 up at the top. Dabo Sweeney at 4-1 is the next one. So what would you say about Dabo Sweeney?
So Dabo, that was the next guy I was going to do. Dabo goes obviously here. Clemson opens up. Clemson's a weird. I think the Oregon job, like if Dan were to leave Oregon, is way more elusive and a bigger holy shit feel than the Clemson job. Pete Carroll could be a good fit for Oregon. Look, I'm shooting skeeters out here because I don't know what's happening. Pete Carroll just got departed from the Seattle Seahawks today, and I love me some Pete Carroll. Nobody chews on gum like that guy does. Okay, that guy is a professional when it comes to smacking on that gum, and it riles me up. All right, but that's besides the point. So that kind of fits that. The Clemson job, I really don't care about that. Like Clemson could go back to just being what it was before Dabo, and nobody would care. Nobody would bat an eye. The ACC is a joke, anyways. We all know this. He goes to Bama. The reason I don't like this is he's proven to not adapt to the new college football landscape. That's
Right.
I just don't see. Like, 3 years ago, it's a lock. It's a no brainer. It's a done deal. Look, could he recruit to Alabama? Yes, and continue down that. Yeah, and that's the one thing is that if he were to go to Alabama, we know the guy can recruit. He has no problem doing that, and he'll recruit just fine in Alabama. And I think a lot of kids would be okay playing with him. He has a pretty good coaching tree as well. So a lot of could happen. I don't like it though. If I'm on the one thing is that he has that Lanning does not have is a proven champion. Lanning is
and a black eye.
And a black eye. Look, I don't know. Like for me, does Dabo have another 10 to 15 year run? Lanning is on that trajectory where he could be the next Nick, where he can dominate at the school for a couple of years. You know what I mean? And create that. I don't know if Dabo has that.
Yeah, that's literally the only two coaches that have proven like anything of national championship worth would be Smart and Dabo. And like you said, Smart, he's not going to leave the situation he's in, his alma mater, where he's dominating and getting #1 classes. That's going to be a hard pull, and you're not going to be able to pull him away from there anyway because it's his alma mater. So I think that's out the window unless you offer him something he just can't refuse. I doubt that you would be able to do that. You've got Dabo Sweeney, you had Dan Lanning. The next person on this list that you're gonna like, Sheldon, because I know this is your guy, Deion Sanders, 6-1. What do you think about that?
That one's crazy to me. It was obviously hot for A&M. Look, all the things that I just said, right? He hasn't. I mean, recruiting. He hasn't recruited like people thought he would, but portal wise, he has, excelled in that. Hasn't recruited, but you put him in Alabama, you give him money. Who knows what he'll be able to do on the recruiting side? I don't know if
about like Deion with is like his coaching acumen, because I haven't seen enough from him, and not really at Jackson State. I think he was good at Jackson State. I don't think he was great. And then at Colorado, obviously he's 1 year in. He's got to get the talent in there, so I can't really blame year one on him. He did improve the team. But that's the only question I have about him. But other than that, like getting kids interested and getting recruits eyes turning and getting them into the school. I mean, he's not gonna have an issue with that. He loves media. He loves being on camera. He loves being on social media and being out there, and that's how he lands a lot of his recruits anyway. So from a, I guess, media and getting kids to the school and getting them in, it's going to be easy for him there anyway. But like it is Alabama, it's going to recruit itself just based on the championships that it's won over the years. But you don't have Nick Saban there, so you got to have that kind of person that's going to give you, I guess, a little bit more of an aura, if you
Mm.
will. But Sanders is a different aura than Nick Saban. Nick Saban's a no BS. Hey, look, we're winning championships. Deion's a little bit more showy, likes to talk about it and hasn't really done it yet. So is he really the right fit?
Look, with the culture at Alabama, there's already a set standard. What guy comes in and can continue what's already there? And I think that's a
Yeah,
big question too. And look, I think Dion has a culture, but is it a Nick Saban esque culture? I don't think so. It's its own culture. And so you're
yeah.
kind of you're taking a bigger reset, with my opinion. Real quick before we keep moving, we got a $5 super chat from Daniel Kirsta. Says my money's on Belichick. I don't, look. I
Belichick
mean,
is 80-1 on this odds
I,
list.
I
So
I don't like
yeah,
Belichick in the sense of, again, having the portal and the recruiting nonsense. I just don't see these guys that are in the NFL that are having success. I don't see it. I could be wrong. I'm down to be wrong, but I don't see it. Coach D to Bama, it's a lock. Who's Coach D?
Coach
DeBar,
D.
Kalen, Washington's head coach. That's obviously a name. That's a top. That's 6-1 too, isn't it?
What is Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6-1. And then Pat Shermer is 9-1, Urban Meyer 10-1, Billy Napier 14-1, Derek Dooley 14-1, Mike Norvell 16-1, Ryan Day 20-1. And then there's like hundreds of other
Where's
guys
Norvell?
on here.
Where's Norvell?
Mike Norvell is, I'm trying to find him. It's a huge list. I don't even think he's on this one.
Real quick, Muddy
Uh,
says, remember 2 years ago, Lincoln Riley was God, and on top of the choices, not even a mention of or a whisper for the job. Look, the beginning of the year, I was all praise for Lincoln Riley. The way that he managed this ship this last year definitely burned his credibility a lot. And it is interesting that his name isn't on there because 2 years ago, again, he would be, even 2 years ago, what he was doing with this landscape would be a done deal, in my opinion. If what he was doing at Oklahoma, oh my boy, I'd be like, that'd be a lock. Let's talk this scenario. Let's put Dabo back at Clemson, Norvell to Alabama, the team that just kicked you out of the playoffs.
he is Norvell 16-1.
This is intriguing to me because he fits everything that we just said, right? He's a combination of the two guys. He's got everything Lanning has, in the sense of he recruited well last year, so he's done well recruiting last year. He's been extreme. I mean, I gave him the title of the Portal King. The guy's crushing the portal. You hate him or you love him. I hate it, but he's done a phenomenal job. That's just facts. Like put your bias aside. He's done a great job in the portal, dominant there. Who knows what this guy could do if you throw him a bag or two with the Bama logo coming in, right? Um, coach some great games. Did look, the Louisville game, hate it or love it, but they damn near kept that shit together with a third string quarterback. So look, I credit when credit is due. So he has that landing aspect. He's also went 13-0. He's got the championship, more than what Dan Lanning has, because Lanning hasn't won a Pac-12,
Yeah.
but doesn't have the championship status that Dabo has. To me, he fits it, and I think that their contract, his closest coming up, I think, unless he just signed an extension, because he's like his 5th year in at FSU, so that thing's got to be closer to the end than most of these guys. So it could be a cheaper hire as well.
Yeah, I don't think he has signed an extension at all, or at least I haven't seen it. Haven't seen like going around or anything like that. But like, yeah, I mean, you make a good point. I mean, Norvell may, and I'll give credit where credit is due. I mean, Willie Taggart put that thing in a tailspin, and if he was still there was no way that he was going to be doing the job that Mike Norvell was doing, coming from where he came from. Um, he's recruited well. I don't think high school wise he's recruited. I mean, this is his best recruiting class he's had in high school since he's been there. So I will give him credit on that. He lost a
Yeah,
couple
he's not
five.
as good as Dan. He hasn't done as
I
well as
mean,
Dan. I agree.
but like you look at, I think he's got the 5th ranked portal class right now. So it's like even though that you lost a couple of guys, and I've always said this now with the way the transfer portal is, even if you lose 4 or 5 guys from your recruiting class, and it's number 15, if you get elite portal gets like Ole Miss did, or even Mike Norvell who's done it, I mean, it does it really matter that you lost 2, 3, 4 guys as long as they have like 2, 3 years of eligibility, maybe even a year, you can make up for it in the next recruiting cycle. But at the same time, you're getting a lot more, I guess, older depth. But but they don't you don't want to try to like make the portal your main recruiting source. You want high school because you get more years out of them. But at the same time, like if you can supplement some older guys to come in there, if you miss on a couple of guys, it's not that bad. And I think he's done the best job out of anybody, to be honest.